Welcome to the Sober and Happy podcast, where we talk about all things recovery related, how to navigate the challenges that we'll face along the way on our journey towards our best lives, and how we could go from living a life of simply just being sober to a life where we're both sober and happy. Let me ask you this. How many times you been cruising along in sobriety, feeling strong, and then bam, the thought hits. Wait, never again? Not one sip at my kid's wedding? No champagne toast at my best friend's birthday? Suddenly, your chest tightens, your palms sweat, and that forever feeling feels like a life sentence. Sound familiar? Well, here's the good news. You're not broken for feeling this way. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest mental roadblocks in recovery, the terrifying idea of forever. We will discuss the reasons why forever feels so overwhelming and how to flip the script so sobriety stops feeling like a prison and starts feeling like freedom. So buckle up. This is going to be a great episode. Welcome back. I remember sitting in the cafeteria of my rehab when a Jason Aldean song came on the radio. You might know the one. He's singing about driving down a back road with the cold beer in his console. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because that was me. Windows down, radio up, just cruising some back dirt road with the cold beer, feeling free. But then this wave of panic washed over me. I'm never going to experience that again. My mind started spinning out of control. No beer at baseball games, no cocktails by the pool on vacation, no champagne toast at my best friend's wedding. The list of nevers kept growing until I felt like I was going to have a panic attack. It felt like I was looking down this endless, empty road stretching into forever, and I wasn't sure I could walk it. That overwhelming feeling of never again nearly derailed my recovery before it really even started. And I know I'm not alone in this. When we frame sobriety as this massive all or nothing forever commitment, we're actually setting ourselves up to feel overwhelmed. Think about it. Our brains aren't wired to process infinity. We evolved to handle immediate threats and opportunities, not abstract concepts that stretch into some unknown future. When we try to wrap our minds around never ever drinking again, it's like trying to comprehend the size of the universe. It triggers anxiety, overwhelm, and for many people, it creates fear about how we'll handle life without alcohol. And for me, it wasn't just that moment in rehab. I lost count how many times I thought about getting sober, but then the thought would pop into my head, I can't do this. Forever is too long. The thought of committing to something for the rest of my life felt impossible. There's actually some fascinating psychology behind why forever freaks us out so much. One big factor is something called loss aversion. Basically, humans hate losing things much more than we enjoy gaining things. So even when alcohol is clearly destroying our lives, the idea of losing it forever can feel like we're giving up something valuable, like we're losing a friend, a coping mechanism, or part of our identity. Then there's the perfectionism trap. When we think in terms of never again, we're setting an impossible standard. The first slip becomes catastrophic, proof that we've failed at forever. I've seen so many people abandon their recovery entirely after a single drink because they think, well, I already broke my forever commitment, so what's the point? And then there's the what if game. What if I could never relax at parties again? What if I can't handle my sister's wedding without a drink? What if I'm still craving alcohol when I'm 80? And then the big one, what if I never am able to have fun again? Our minds love to project these scenarios into some imaginary future, creating anxiety about situations that don't even exist yet. I remember lying awake at night during my early sobriety, imagining how to handle an upcoming company Christmas party. Here's the best part. I didn't even have a job yet. I was working myself into a panic about an event that didn't even exist yet. I was letting some hypothetical future ruin my present recovery. So how do we get out of this trap? It starts with reframing the entire narrative around sobriety, and this was a game changer for me. Instead of seeing sobriety as this permanent restriction that's been forced upon you, what if you started seeing it as an ongoing choice that you're actively making? There's a world of difference between I can't drink and I don't drink, or even I'm choosing not to drink right now. Language matters so much here. I can't drink sounds like a punishment, like something has been taken away from you. I don't drink is a statement of identity of who you are. And I'm not drinking right now puts the focus squarely on the present moment, which is all we really have anyways. This shift from a deprivation mindset to a choice mindset is incredibly liberating because the truth is you're not actually making a forever decision today. You're making a decision for right now. And you could keep making that same choice tomorrow and then the next day, all without the pressure of infinity. This reframing also helps with social pressure. When someone pushes you to have just one drink, they're essentially asking you to break what they perceive as your forever commitment. But if your commitment is just for today, you could simply say, not today, thanks. It often diffuses the pressure because it's not about forever, it's about now. This brings me to one of the most powerful tools for managing the forever fear, time chunking. The one day at a time mantra in recovery communities exists for a good reason, and that's because it works. It has roots in spiritual traditions going back centuries, but it's also backed by modern psychology. Our brains are much better at handling defined short-term commitments than open-ended ones. When you wake up in the morning and say, just for today, I'm not going to drink, you're giving yourself a clear, achievable goal. You know you can make it through one day because you've done it before. And when you string enough of those days together, you build momentum without the pressure of forever. Research shows that our brains process short-term and long-term commitments very differently. Short-term goals activate the brain's reward pathways more effectively. We get that hit of dopamine, that sense of accomplishment, when we complete a defined task. Forever goals don't give us that same neurological satisfaction. It's also about control. You could control your choices today. You can't control your choices in some hypothetical future 20 years from now. Focusing on the present puts the power back in your hands. There are many different approaches to time chunking that work for different people. Some people do the traditional 24-hour commitment, just focusing on making it to bedtime sober. Others set slightly longer goals. I'm not drinking for the next month. Then when that month is up, they could choose to commit to another month. I've known people who commit to sobriety until specific milestones. These temporary commitments can be really powerful. Think about movements like Sober October or Dry January. They work because they have an end date. People who would never consider quitting forever are willing to try 30 days. And many discover that they feel so much better that they extend their sobriety beyond that initial time frame. I have a good friend who started his recovery with a 90-day commitment. Just 3 months is what he told himself. He said that he figured that he could do anything for 3 months. At the end of those 90 days, he felt so good that he decided to do another 90. Instead of days now, he counts his sobriety in 90-day chunks. Last year, he hit his 100th 90-day chunk. I'll save you the math. That's over 24 years, 90 days at a time. So let's discuss some practical strategies for managing that forever fear when it arises, because it will arise, especially in early recovery. First, challenge those forever thoughts when they come up. When you catch yourself thinking, I'll never have a drink again, gently reframe it to, I'm choosing not to drink today. Bring it back to the present moment. This isn't just positive thinking. It's actively training your brain to process recovery in a way that doesn't trigger overwhelm. It's like cognitive behavior therapy you could do on the fly. Setting short-term goals is another powerful strategy. Instead of focusing on lifelong sobriety, focus on making it to your next support group meeting. Focus on getting through the weekend. Focus on trying that new hobby you've been curious about. Developing solid coping mechanisms for the present moment is crucial too. I know I'd often get into full-blown dramatizing every time I would struggle. I would get a craving and my first thought would be, oh man, how am I going to deal with these cravings forever? But when a craving hits, you don't need a strategy for handling all future cravings. You just need a way to get through this one. Maybe it's calling a friend, going for a walk, practicing a breathing technique, or playing with your dog. Whatever works for you in that moment. Building a strong support system is absolutely essential. Connect with people who understand recovery, whether that's friends, family members, a therapist, or a recovery group. These are the people who will remind you to stay in the present moment when your mind starts spiraling into forever fears. And perhaps most importantly, Practice self-compassion. Recovery isn't a straight path, and it isn't perfect. There will be hard days. There will be moments of doubt. Being kind to yourself through those moments is what allows you to keep moving forward. Remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination. You're not failing at forever if you have a bad day or even if you slip. You're learning, growing, and continuing to choose what's best for you one day at a time. As we wrap up today, I want to share something that a wise person in recovery once told me. They said, "The beautiful paradox of recovery is that when you stop trying to control forever and focus on today, forever takes care of itself." Those words changed everything for me. When I stopped fixating on never drinking again and started focusing on making the best choice for myself each day, sobriety actually became sustainable. The pressure lifted. I could breathe again. And over time, those daily choices added up to a life that's better than anything I could ever have imagined when I was white-knuckling it through the terror of forever. So here's my challenge for you this week. Experiment with time chunking your sobriety. If forever feels overwhelming, commit to just the next 24 hours, or the next week, or the next 30 days. Set a time frame that feels manageable to you and focus entirely on that. When you reach the end of that time frame, you could always choose to commit to another one. And notice the language you use when you talk about your sobriety, both to others and to yourself. Try shifting from "I can't" to "I'm choosing not to" and see how that feels. Notice if it creates a sense of empowerment rather than deprivation. Remember, sobriety isn't about what you're giving up. It's about what you're gaining. You're gaining clarity, freedom, peace of mind, and an ability to truly enjoy your life without alcohol. Embrace this shift because choosing sobriety today opens the door for a better tomorrow. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, please do me a huge favor. Grab your phone right now and text one person who you think might benefit from listening to this episode. That would mean the world to me. New episodes come out each Friday, so I look forward to connecting with you next week. And as always, thank you so much for listening and keep living sober and happy.